It begins not with a scream, but with a chilling, unnatural quiet. A silence that is too deep, too absolute. In the sprawling, ancient woodlands of New England, where history is written in weathered stone walls and whispers on the wind, a new and terrifying story is unfolding, chapter by silent chapter. The first clue, the most disturbing of all, is not what is found, but what is profoundly and meticulously absent. No signs of a desperate struggle etched into the soil. No obvious, violent wounds to explain the sudden end of a life. No clear reason, just a body discovered in a place of serene, almost painterly beauty, looking as if it has simply lain down for a nap and surrendered to a final sleep. This deceptive peace, this horrifying tranquility, is the very heart of the mystery, the insidious calling card of a horror that has gripped a nation and sparked a quiet, creeping panic that has begun to poison the very air. The year is 2025. As the last stubborn snows of a long winter finally melted away, a sense of renewal and awakening should have filled the region. From the rugged, granite-lined coast of Maine to the dense primordial forests of Massachusetts, spring was breathing life back into the landscape. But in March, a darkness began to take root, a blight that spread unseen. A body was found, then another, and another. At first, they were isolated tragedies, footnotes in local news cycles, a college student out for a run in a Connecticut state park, an elderly birdwatcher whose favorite trail in Rhode Island became his final resting place, a young couple who went camping in Maine and were found days later, their tent undisturbed. Scattered across 4 states, a string of baffling discoveries began. The victims were ghosts in the headlines, 12 souls lost to an unknown cause, their stories connected only by 2 unnerving threads: the remote, wooded geography of their discovery and the unnerving, infuriating lack of explanation. This was the backdrop of simmering anxiety, of hushed warnings on community Facebook pages, when, on the first day of June, the formless fear was finally given a face and a name. Imagine the scene. It's a perfect, sun-drenched Sunday in Milton, Massachusetts. The light, soft and golden, filters through the thick summer canopy of the Blue Hills Reservation, a sprawling oasis of nature, just a stone's throw from the urban intensity of Boston. A hiker, perhaps a local out for a familiar weekend walk with their dog, ventures slightly off the main path, drawn by a flash of color. There, nestled in a bed of last year's crisp leaves and this year's new, vibrant green growth, they see a figure. It is 21-year-old Adriana Suazo, an art student known for her love of capturing natural light in her sketches. She lies still, her face turned towards the sky, as if contemplating the clouds. There is no disarray, no sign of a frantic final fight for life. Her keys are in her pocket. Her phone lies beside her. Her half-empty water bottle rests nearby. To the unprepared eye, she could be resting, but the stillness is absolute, the silence profound and eternal. When authorities arrive, the yellow tape they string between the trees feels like a violation of the scene's eerie calm. They confirm the grim reality. Adriana is the 13th unexplained death in just 90 agonizing days. And like the 12 who came before her, the most terrifying thing about the scene is what isn't there. No weapon, no foreign DNA, no footprints other than her own, leading to the spot where she lay down and never got up again. Just a life, a future filled with promise and art, extinguished as silently as a candle flame in a vacuum. The official investigation, as you might expect, has become a masterclass in caution and control. A multi-agency task force has been quietly formed, but its existence is downplayed. In press conferences, state police colonels and district attorneys from multiple jurisdictions stand shoulder to shoulder, their faces grim, their language meticulously chosen. They speak of isolated incidents, of having no credible evidence to suggest a link between the deaths. They repeat the mantra that there is no known threat to the general public. They point to the vast and complex work of toxicology and pathology, reminding a frightened populace that answers from a medical examiner's office can take weeks, even months. Their job is to prevent mass panic, to follow procedure, to look at each case as a separate, tragic puzzle. But outside the sterile environment of the police briefing, a different, more visceral narrative is taking hold, spreading like wildfire across social media and in hushed conversations over backyard fences. The public is connecting the dots that the authorities refuse to acknowledge. They see a pattern that is too clear, too terrifying to ignore. 13 bodies, all found in similar wooded, remote settings. 13 victims of varying ages and backgrounds, whose cause of death remains a mystery. 13 families, trapped in an unbearable limbo, without answers. The questions being asked by the people are stark and direct. Are we truly to believe that in the span of one spring, 13 individuals, many of them young and healthy, all separately died from causes so obscure they defy modern forensics? Or is the persistent, surgical lack of evidence not a sign of coincidence, but the signature of a meticulous and highly intelligent predator? Is this a carefully orchestrated silence designed to mask an unthinkable truth? This brings us to the theories, a schism in perception that divides the region. On one side, the coldly logical, on the other, the stuff of modern folklore. The mainstream hypothesis, the one investigators are compelled to follow, is that this is a tragic confluence of unrelated events. They argue that New England has a quiet but deadly opioid problem, and that a batch of fentanyl-laced drugs could easily explain some of the deaths, with the evidence of paraphernalia long gone by the time of discovery. Others could be silent suicides, or rare, sudden medical events like aneurysms, or simple cases of exposure from individuals who became lost. It is a plausible explanation, one that contains the horror within the realm of the ordinary and the statistically possible. It suggests that the only thing connecting these deaths is our own fear and our primal human need to find a single, monstrous pattern in what is merely senseless chaos. But then there is the other theory, the chilling alternative that speaks to our deepest fears and has taken root in the public imagination. It is the theory of a single, spectral figure, a ghost in the New England woods, a new type of serial killer, one so forensically aware that they leave behind no trace of their work, a murderer who uses a method that is, for all intents and purposes, undetectable by a standard autopsy. Speculation, particularly on dedicated Reddit forums that have sprung up overnight, runs rampant about what this method could be. They talk of fast-acting, customized poisons that mimic natural causes like a heart attack, such as an injection of potassium chloride. They discuss subtle forms of suffocation that leave no lasting physical marks, or the injection of an air embolism into a vein, a bubble of air that can trigger a fatal stroke and is nearly impossible to find post-mortem. It's a terrifying thought, a killer who is not just a monster, but a coolly detached professional, perhaps a doctor, a veterinarian, or a scientist, moving silently through the most beautiful parts of the region and turning them into their personal, untraceable graveyards. Fringe theories go even further, whispering of a dark, nature-based cult practicing ritual sacrifice, or a localized, unknown environmental toxin seeping from the ancient soil, a silent poison from the earth itself. As the summer sun now warms the forests of New England, a cold shadow lingers, a palpable sense of dread that has changed the way people live. The authorities ask for patience, for trust in a process that has so far yielded only more questions and deeper frustration. But the public counts the dead and feels a growing instinctive certainty that something is deeply systemically wrong. The final question, then, is not just who, or what, is responsible for these 13 silent deaths? It is this: in the face of such a profound and terrifying mystery, where the facts are few and the fear is abundant, which is more dangerous, the monster we can imagine, lurking just beyond the tree line, or the one we are being told, against all our instincts, does not exist?